Hello guys, we are the Sea Turtle Knowledge Research Group, and our study is understanding local Bahamians' knowledge and attitudes towards sea turtles and sea turtle conservation. I'm Ice Tuba,
Caitlin Schwartz,
Valerie Jackman,
Judy Larita,
Jessica Bermuda-Steen,
and Meme Hartshard.
So what are sea turtles? Sea turtles are long-lived reptiles and have inhabited the earth for nearly 200 million years. They are also considered a keystone species. This means that they provide a healthy balance within their ecosystem. Sea turtle grazing promotes healthy growth within seagrass in the Bahamas. However, they are also considered endangered. This is mainly due to human-induced threats such as poaching of sea turtle eggs and harvesting of sea turtles. This is as a result of sea turtles being used as a cultural resource in many places such as the Bahamas for food, decoration, and jewelry. There are 7 species of sea turtles found across the world. This includes the leatherback, loggerhead, green, hawksbill, Alice ridley, flatback, and Kemp's ridley. And out of these 7, 4 are found in the Bahamas: leatherback, loggerhead, green, and hawksbill.
So here in the Bahamas, we primarily have green juvenile sea turtles that migrate here from Western Africa, South America, and the greater Caribbean to feed on the abundance of seagrass in our shallow waters. However, in the past 400 years, green sea turtle populations have decreased 93 to 97% as a result of their cultural and economic significance. This has prompted the Bahamas to place a Bahamas-wide ban on the harvesting of sea turtles as of 2009. So one thing we need to keep in mind while conducting our research is this idea of community-based conservation. Community-based conservation is getting the locals invested in a long-term conservation project. To successfully implement one of these programs, we need to make sure that the wants and needs of locals are ensured. A prime example of this is in Costa Rica, where alternative livelihoods were provided for poachers that previously jeopardized the population of sea turtles. So for right now, we're just getting a baseline knowledge of what locals know.
So we're the first social science project to be conducted in the Sea Turtle Research Program at CEI, and the purpose of this project is to gain information regarding local Bahamians' knowledge and attitudes towards sea turtles in South Eleuthera. The primary objective of this study is to assess whether or not there's a correlation between the knowledge and attitudes of the locals and the abundance of sea turtles in a specific study site. We're also going to assess whether or not the various demographic factors that we find among our interviewees correlate with the knowledge and attitudes of the locals. For this study, we have 3 primary research questions. First being, how does knowledge about sea turtles vary across various demographic factors? How does sea turtle abundance affect locals' knowledge and attitudes? And what do people really know about sea turtles as a species in general?
Alright, so how we've been collecting our data throughout the semester is through formal interviews towards local Bahamians. These interviews are a series of 12 previously determined questions that are both yes or no type questions as well as open-ended ones. Some examples of the questions we've been asking throughout the semester are, have you seen sea turtles in the Bahamas, and if so, where? What do you know about sea turtle conservation in the Bahamas? And what is your opinion of sea turtles as a cultural resource? We have interviewed 69 people this semester over 9 different study sites and have been collecting both quantitative and qualitative data. For the quantitative data, which is data that focuses more on the quantity rather than the quality, we found this through the yes or no type questions, as well as questions that were answered on a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and this is called the Likert scale. For the qualitative data, we found this through the open-ended questions, which we analyzed using graphs in an effort to better understand the knowledge and attitudes of locals. Another part of our project was abundance surveys in mangrove creeks throughout South Eleuthera. We connected our abundance surveys with that of the Sea Turtle Research Program at the Cape Eleuthera Institute. Each of these abundance surveys lasted 30 minutes per creek, during which time we tracked and counted how many sea turtles we found using GPS tracking. The purpose of these abundance surveys was to see if there was any correlation between how many turtles we found in each creek with what locals in that area said during their interviews.
We found quantitative data using the Likert scale to find means for our t-tests. This table shows the average sea turtle abundance found in 2014 and 2015 within a variety of creeks located in south of Eleuthera. It also shows how many people saw sea turtles in these areas. We found the highest correlations in Half Sound and Winding Bay Creek between the amount of sea turtles living in these creeks and the number of people who saw sea turtles there. We found that more people are aware of the ban than people who are unaware of the ban. People who are aware of the ban tended to notice an increase in sea turtle populations after the ban was implemented. People who were unaware of the ban were unsure or saw no change in sea turtle population after the ban. Fishermen and non-fishermen both agree that the 2009 ban is having a healthy impact on marine ecosystems in the Bahamas. On average, females said it was more important to protect sea turtles than males, even though only 14 females were interviewed out of 69 participants. More males were aware of the ban than females. However, over 50% of all interviewees had heard of the ban previously. The majority of people were knowledgeable about sea turtle species common to the Bahamas. However, a lot of people were also unsure about all sea turtle species in general, and especially sea turtle species that were uncommon to the Bahamas, like the olive ridley.
So what does this all mean? So according to our studies, we saw that more men were aware of the ban than women. This is because typically in the Bahamas, you don't see a whole lot of women fishermen and women that occupy jobs out on the open water where they would have more interaction with sea turtles. However, we noticed that most of the women we interviewed were really passionate and enthusiastic about sea turtles and sea turtle conservation. This enthusiasm is really important to keep applying to community-based conservation methods. We also noticed that on average, fishermen knew a little bit more about the ban's impact on marine ecosystems. This is because fishermen are being directly impacted by the ban since they can no longer harvest sea turtles. We noticed that overall, there wasn't a whole lot of knowledge on the species of sea turtles that exist here in the Bahamas. It's crucial that this is addressed in order to have successful community conservation, because if people don't know what they're trying to conserve, then how are they going to help conserve it at all? Finally, we noticed that the people who were aware of the ban were more aware of sea turtle abundance trends since the ban was implemented. This shows us that the ban has caused people to be more aware of sea turtles and more cognizant of their population trends. So you guys are probably wondering what's next. So our interview questions that we used in this research study have actually been picked up by other organizations in the outer islands of the Bahamas. This is really encouraging because it's expanding the Bahamian community into this research project and conservation of sea turtles. We hope that the data we collected can be used in future conservation research, and we hope that the knowledge, opinions, and attitudes of the interviewees will be taken into account if there are to be any more conservation programs implemented. We would like to thank the 2015 fall interns for coming on interviews with us. The interviewees, we'd like to thank Rachel Miller, our advisee, and then we'd like to thank Kate Kincaid for helping us develop our interview questions. We'd also like to thank CEI and the Island School. So do you guys have any questions for us?
Did you find any significant correlation between age and attitudes towards conservation?
So the question was, did we find any significant correlation between age and the attitudes? And actually we did not find any correlations. We looked at that and we didn't really find any correlations, which was surprising because we had previously predicted that the elders would be less agreeing with the ban and more willing to eat sea turtles because that was part of their culture back then before the ban.
How far did you get in terms of your population? Did you get out to the farther parts of Eleuthera?
The question was, did we get out to farther parts in Eleuthera? And our abundance surveys and our interviews were just located in creeks and settlements in south of Eleuthera.
It looked like one or two of the sites that were previously surveyed were not surveyed. Is that because of distance? If I understood that side correctly, there were a couple of creeks where you didn't survey this year or couldn't? Is it because they were far away? If I understood the slide correctly? Maybe I misread. That one, back, the NA sites. Back one, that one. Winding Bay, where, is that far away?
The question asks where the two Greencastle and Winding Bay were not visited to because of how far it is. There's no specific reason why we didn't actually go to these places, but because we have a lot of abundant surveys that were done before then, we had a substantial amount of information for our project.
And additionally, our project was focused on the interviews, and the abundance survey was kind of like, was part of it, but it wasn't the central objective, so we weren't able to interview and do all of those study sites for abundance surveys.
Was it just Bahamians that you interviewed, or were there also people who own property from other places or tourists that were interviewed?
So the question was it just Bahamians that we were interviewing? And yeah, it was just Bahamians because we were exploring like the ban and what Bahamians feel towards sea turtles and conservation projects in the Bahamas.
Based on the context of your interviews, what do you think that the Bahamian government could do to better conserve the sea turtles?
The question was based on the context, what do you think the Bahamian government can do for conservation? And most of what we're doing, the reason why we're collecting information about knowledge and attitudes of Bahamians towards sea turtles is for further conservation efforts, but this is including community-based conservation, some that can so that the community can actually interact with this conservation, and so it's not forcibly in place, but the community has a base in it. So we're like the baseline learning for this future conservation efforts.